Hey, it's me, MLB. Here we are with chapter 31 of Serendipity. This one's titled Tough Job. Izu? You asked gently, trying to bring him back to the present. Oh, yes, Yin? He asked quickly, snapping out of his little daydream. Are you okay? Yeah, he replied sheepishly, rubbing the back of his neck, not really knowing what to say at that point. You felt like you had maybe seen enough, or maybe it was just how flustered Deku looked, but either way, you just needed to get out of there. Thank you so much for your time, you said politely to the clerk, who was still desperately trying to hold her fangirling in, her eyes glued to Deku. Oh, my pleasure, she replied happily, closing the cabinet as you turned Deku away and guided him out of the shop. He just allowed you to lead him, as he was still coming back around from his little fantasy. Phew, that was intense, you said with a little embarrassed laugh, trying to make light of the awkward situation that had just happened. I'm sorry, Yin, Deku mumbled slightly sadly. He had wanted to make it a really exciting moment for you, but his nerves got the better of him. It's okay, you reassured him. It's a big step looking at rings. Maybe we're just not ready? Deku felt sad after hearing you say that. Had he failed you? He felt like he had let you down in some way, and it was then that he resolved to make the anniversary dinner the best it could ever be, including the proposal. I need to show her the man I've become because of her. I need to prove that I'm worthy of being her husband, he thought. The poor love-stricken ring shop clerk stumbled out the back of the supply closet, clutching her chest as she wheezed out her co-worker's name. Has he gone yet? A timid voice replied the wheezing clerk. Yes, I'm sad, but relieved, because if he stayed any longer, I would have proposed to him myself, the clerk said as she threw her back against the wall and slumped to the floor. Why does he have to be so friggin' adorable? Well, why do you think I hid in here? The timid co-worker replied, emerging from behind some boxes. The minute I heard you yell, oh my god, it's Deku, I panicked and hid. You should have seen him, the clerk sighed happily, a faraway look in her eye. He just stood there, looking like an amazing ethereal being. I don't doubt it for a second. Even the air he breathes out is more pure than the air he breathed in, the timid co-worker replied emphatically. He smiled at me, the clerk said in the most dead serious voice ever. Oh my god, and you were able to still stand? The timid co-worker asked with wide eyes. Yes, came the reply, coupled with a dead straight face. You're basically invincible now. I know. You're amazing. It's the power of Deku. He's basically a god, so I believe it. And the conversation continued for the next 20 minutes while the two Deku fans talked about their favourite number one hero. Hey, Yin, I need to run a quick errand for my mum, Deku said to you a few days later as the working day was coming to a close. Oh, give me a second and I'll finish up here and come with you, you replied happily, quickly filing some papers. Oh, no, I need to do this one alone and I'll be back home as soon as possible, he replied, fiddling with the doorknob nervously, his gaze falling to the floor. Oh, you said suspiciously, stopping what you were doing so you could watch him. Are you sure I can't come? Please, Yin, I'll be home as quickly as I can, he replied, his eyes still glued to the floor. Suspicious, you thought. Okay, I'll see you at home then, you said, still watching him. Thank you, Yin. I'll be going now, bye, he mumbled quickly before closing the door swiftly and running down the hall. You giggled a little with confusion. What the heck is going on? Ah, well, I'll let it slide, you thought before turning back to your work. He'll probably beat me home anyway. There's so much left to do. Deku quickly slipped his hoodie on as he left the building and hopped on the first bus he came across, making his way down to the ring shop that you and he had visited a few days earlier. I don't know what ring she likes, but maybe the clerk there could help me? 20 minutes later he arrived at the shop front and opened the door with his head lowered so no one could see his face. The timid co-worker happened to be on the desk that day and looked up to see a very large hooded figure enter her shop. She froze. Oh no, robber! She panicked internally, her fingers sliding along the underside of the desk, frantically trying to locate the emergency button that was hidden there. Deku looked up slowly and pushed the hoodie back off his head to reveal himself, and that's when all hell broke loose. The timid co-worker screamed, hit the emergency button, and then promptly passed out, while the sirens flashed and wailed from the ceiling. "Are you okay?" Deku called as she fell unconscious behind the desk. He raced around the counter and rolled her into the recovery position, looking around to place something soft under her head, but failing to find such an item, so he took off his hoodie and folded it, sliding it gently under her head instead. "Freeze!" the security officer yelled as he entered the ring shop. He had been alerted immediately by the emergency button and had arrived on scene almost instantly. Deku stood up and placed his hands up in surrender. "Sir, I apologize," he stammered. "I don't know what happened." "Deku?" the officer replied in shock. "What happened?" "Sir, like I said, I don't know. I walked in and she screamed and then passed out." The officer put his gun down and Deku lowered his hands, stepping back as the officer made his way around the desk and shut the emergency sirens off. "What brings you to a jewellery shop, Deku?" the officer asked curiously as he checked the young girl over. Well, the officer looked up with a wink and just nodded. "Say no more, your secret's safe with me." "Thank you, sir," Deku replied with relief. And that's the end of chapter 31. Stay tuned for chapter 32.